All right. So after that brief embarrassment, let's move on. So, cybercrime is a really big term. It means a lot of different things, and look at that before we get into this discussion. It could mean something like copyright theft. It could be as simple as downloading videos, downloading unauthorized tunes, or it could be e-books without permission. Cyberstalking and bullying is becoming a big one. I mean, yesterday alone, Monica Lewinsky came out and talked about cyberbullied as a result of her infamous activities in the 90s, and also a lot of activity going on, a lot of discussion going on about Gamergate, where women who have spoken out about their views on how women are depicted in video games are being bullied to the extent that they are afraid to stay in their home. Soliciting and abuse is another big-time area. I don't know if this actually qualifies as a cybercrime, but I saw this morning that 3 young women from Denver decided to join the jihad in Syria and had left and were actually detained in Germany and returned to the United States. But again, this is an example of targeted organizations by individuals via the internet for intent. And then finally, scams. I mean, Lord knows we've all been approached at one time or another. I know that yesterday I was approached with yet another Nigerian print scheme. Actually, this one was for $18 million from Malaysia. But, I had the same last name as that individual, so obviously I should be willing to help them. About today is the more formal definition of cybercrime that is used by the Department of Justice. And specifically, it is crimes against computer systems that provide some form of gain to the attacker. It could consist of denial of service, electronic vandalism, or sabotage. The normal types, you've got hacking, which is actually kind of the foundation of pretty much cybercrime. Is going to start with some sort of a hack. See extortion, and that's happening in a variety of different ways. It could be the threat of publishing embarrassing information that was stolen from a cell phone, or it can be encryption of a hard disk drive and then demands of a ransom in order to unencrypt the drive. Property theft, again, this could be as simple as the copyright theft that we spoke of earlier, but it could be as sophisticated as stealing the plans for the U.S.'s latest fighter jets. PII and our personal identifying information and electronic personal health information. Obviously, this is big time. This is what we hear about all of the time. It occurs at Target, now Staples yesterday, potentially I think 50 million I heard on that one. Now this one I get questioned a lot about, denial of service attacks. How is that a cyber crime? Well, fortuitously, I just received a notification, a broadcast from the FBI, since I'm a member of InfraGard, talking about denial of service attacks, and they state that approximately 50 financial institutions have been subjected to over 350 denial of service attacks since 2012. So definitely, if you're in a position where, if you're like a financial service bank that is making money on transactions, if your customers can't get through to you to do those transactions, then it's a crime. First, for-profit criminals. These are the hackers that are Eastern European in location, many times Chinese as well. These are the ones that go in and do the things like at Target, where they work to penetrate an account and to steal as many information and personal private information as possible. We talked about the extortion and encrypting hard disk drives as the example. We talked about IP theft and theft of personal information and the denial of service attacks. These folks pretty much will do any and all of the types of cyber crimes that we'll be discussing today. Additionally, you have the cyber terrorists / political activists. Now, they tend to use one of two things, either denial of service attacks, and the big example on that one is anonymous. I mean, they make their living by telling everybody that they're going to launch a denial of service attack, then they go out and do it, and they feel good about themselves. They've made their political statement as a result of being able to shut down a site or make it difficult for them to transact their business. Additionally, there's the cyber warfare or asymmetric warfare that's coming on. These are for more of the terrorists. So, for instance, you have the Syrian Electronic Army, who is an extension of the Syrian state, so this is almost a state-sponsored attack as well. And they've been known to retaliate against various organizations that speak out against Assad. Action states, and this is the one where it's getting really, these guys are the sophisticated players, and you know, if you're targeted by a nation state, I pity you because I'm not sure that there's much that can be done given the resources that they have. And when you think about those resources, get mind-boggling. Take the Stuxnet example. You know, that was a virus that was targeted to get across an air-gapped system, into an air-gapped system, meaning no physical connection to the internet. And then, once in there, it was going to do something so simple as to accelerate the centrifuges, to cause them to wear out and break down prematurely, thereby stalling their program and lengthening the time that they have available to get their atomic bomb. Now, there, if you think about the quality assurance process associated with that, somehow or other, you have to have access to a spare nuclear power plant that's not currently in production so that you could test and see whether or not that virus will be able to manipulate those centrifuges have the desired effect. Now think about it. That is not resources that the average hacker has at their disposal. And when a state is so determined as that, you're hard-pressed to be able to protect against it. The dangerous part of nation-state attacks is the lack of attribution. Now, here is a situation where we may be getting attacked by China, but due to the nature of the Internet and the way things can be bounced around, it's impossible for us to state definitively that it is China. The cyber asymmetric warfare that we saw back with the political activists and cyber terrorists, and an example of that one is Russia versus Georgia. When Georgia was struggling with Russia, they had a situation where all of a sudden their government websites were under attack and being taken down. Talked about Stuxnet and espionage. This is going on. Now,